Magic to music.
The thing is, when we started doing the family music, John Forster and I said, let's never say should. You know, you should be doing this. Let's see if we could tell a story instead of, and open the neck of the bottle and have the kids come through instead of going, oh, they're going to be preaching at me. No, instead go, oh, what happens next? Like this one. A stegosaurus in the forest, munching on some hay, lay down to snooze in a bed of ooze and sadly passed away. Their body changed and rearranged as she sank beneath the soil. And over time she turned to slime and then she turned to oil. So she disappears for a jillion years till finally she is found by a guy named Bill with an oil drill who sucks her from the ground. Bill pipes that poor old dinosaur to an oil refinery where they bubble and boil and change that oil into stuff for you and me. RECYCLE, that's the way it's supposed to be. The earth recycles and so do we. RECYCLE. So you kind of work their way in until then you got to what we're talking about. From the late Jurassic, it's fantastic how our dino friend has now become petroleum, and still that's not the end. From dino juice they now produce 1 million plastic jugs, and stegosaurus drinking straws and stegosaurus mugs. RECYCLE, that's the way it's supposed to be. The earth recycles and so do we. RECYCLE, play one. Yeah. Walking up, walking down. That's the way the system works. Things don't disappear. We turn sand into window glass and roots into root beer. We cut and mine and we refine and make these things and then use them not just once, not just twice, but again and again and again and again and again. And if a dinosaur could see us pouring orange juice this way from a plastic jug we made of her, well, this is what she'd say. It took me 80 million years to get to you today. So don't throw that mug, don't throw that jug, don't you throw me away. RECYCLE, that's the way it's supposed to be. Hey, I recycle this melody. RECYCLE, use it again. RECYCLE, and again. RECYCLE, RECYCLE. Well, it's how do you do a song about recycling without saying you should recycle? It's really good for us all, blah, 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 which people talk about. So Michael, Mark, and I were saying, okay. I forget how we got to the stegosaurus in the forest, but once we did, we just followed that down. You know, stegosaurus in the forest munching on some hay, lay down to snooze in a bed of ooze and sadly passed away. So we started the story, and then the craft is getting the individual rhymes in there, you know, because that keeps popping, you know. A stegosaurus in the forest, that nice little rhyme, munching on some hay. Lay down to snooze in a bed of ooze. That little one in there. Another one's like that my friend sing a whale song is like that. We may go. On a fateful day in the month of May, I was sitting catching fish when a magic whale swam up to the rail and said, "Please make a wish." The same way you have those internal rhymes, and that was with John Forster. And he and I had this song pretty well together, but we needed some internal rhymes. And John said, I'll take this home and finish it. So he did, and it's just magical. But that's the first thing is with the songwriting, it's to start with let the ideas flow. And when you get an idea you like, musically or lyrically, you start following it. You follow the story, and then the craft is to keep going and remove all the rough pieces, fix things that don't, so the ride is a lovely ride, especially with kids stuff, because they won't, if they don't know what it is, they're gonna depart mentally. And so the trick with it, what's the difference between a kid song and an adult song? Well, Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man is not going to, if you have a 6-year-old, they're going to want to know what that stuff is, and they get lost in the story, because it's really a magical words that for an adult who will follow that and the joy of it. But I always wanted, so I wrote a song with my friend Scott Ainsley, and he said, it's a little different when I finished it. He said it's a little different than I expected. I said, well, that's the curse and the genius of working with a Chapin. You're going to get a story song, And writing for kids has really helped enormously my writing anyway, in terms of just saying, okay, make this really clear. It doesn't have to be stupid. It doesn't have to be simple. It just has to be really clear. And engaging, and so that's been a great delight that I learned from John Forster and from Cy Kahn and from Michael Mark and from John Cobert and everybody I've kind of worked with, and including Harry. I mean, I was not a writer in the beginning. Harry was the first writer, and then I started writing. And indeed, the way I learned to write, this is interesting, or I learned and realized that I knew how to write. The first year of Make-A-Wish, my TV show. That's the show that Circle came from, that first year. But Harry was writing. I got Harry the job. I was the host of this TV show on Sunday mornings from 11 to 11:30, and there were two words. It was Make-A-Wish. The idea, Make-A-Wish, and you made a wish to be a word. Make-A-Wish. The word is bull. If you were a bull, you could be a bullfrog. You could be a bulldozer. You could be a bullfighter in a bull ring, blah, 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 and so it's all about teaching kids that joy of sort of following that with a lot of quick cuts. And they wanted some songs, and I said, no, I don't really write, but my brother does. So I got Harry the job of writing on Make-A-Wish, which he made more money than I did from the songs than I was the host. In fact, he bought his house in Long Island. He called it the Make-A-Wish house for a little while, because that was how he put. Anyway, so. That was the first year, and first summer he was writing them as we went along, because we were all together. Then his first album came out in the fall with Taxi, and he was on the road. So the second year, he was writing really. I said, Harry, you got those songs? He had to get 26 songs for this, and then we were going to England the second year. So he gives me a tape the morning of, and I'm on the plane with a cassette player, listening to this, and I listen to these songs. I go, oh man, uh-oh. A lot of them were really lousy, because he sat there the night before and just put tunes to say. He had some of the words were pretty good, but the tunes were. So I rewrote them all, because it was my butt on national television singing these songs. Not all of them. I mean, there were, but I wrote a good percentage of them. I redid. And that's when I learned that, I can really do this, and it was wonderful. It was a class, Harry's half-finished songs for kids that I had to perform. And so a lot of times wrote a different tune. A lot of times I wrote different verses, and some of them were great, and some of them, and they all ended up being really fine. And in fact, we're pretty soon going to release I found a tape of the best of Make-A-Wish songs, and so we're going to put that out. Recorded way back then, so my voice is way up high. And songs I'd forgotten, like, if you want to be a train, you got to train, boy. Got to exercise your muscles and your brain. Got to do some huffing, puffins, and then all your things will toughen. You want to be a train, you got to train. Big Daddy D's. I always like these songs, interesting songs, and they were good for them, but they're short. They're like a minute 20 because they were for the TV show. And but I think we'll just put it up on the internet, and we're close to doing that, so that'll be fun. But that's how, and learning, and then one year in Make-A-Wish, the fourth year, we were in Greece, on the island of Rhodes, and I'm doing Make-A-Wish, and I've just rewritten how Harry's songs were doing it. All of a sudden, island of Rhodes is very close to Cyprus. You can almost see it 12 miles away, and that was the year 1974 that Turkey invaded Cyprus, and we were 12 miles away from that, and so we couldn't. They stopped us filming. We're an American film team from. Technically, we were part of ABC News. So all of a sudden, and every young man and older man in the island of Rhodes disappeared into the army, for the fight. And so it was kind of dangerous, and we were sitting there. And while I was sitting there, I wrote probably the first great and good song that I wrote. Island of Rhodes is where the Colossus of Rhodes used to stand over the harbor, and it's a beautiful little harbor. And so I was sitting there with my wife, now wife, then girlfriend, who came to visit me. And I was thinking of this harbor. Think of Sunlit Harbor at the end of a burnout day. On a broken wharf, an old man sits and watches the ships come in. They are ladies of the line, and they know once again it's time for change, and seasons end and then begin again. Rusty from the passage, christened in foreign seas, carrying unknown languages and possibilities. Tonight they'll dock near the Navy Yard and be stripped by the Union Tree. But for now, they are ladies of the line, all promise and mystery. They are ladies of the line, and they know once again it's time for change, and seasons end and then begin again. Though his eyes are dim, he remembers when his hands were on the wheel, and the girls he knew and the flags he flew, when his life was real. And when the sun is set and the lights come on and the last of the big ones pass, he gathers his line, coat and shoes, wandering home at last. They are ladies of the line, and they know once again it's time for change, and seasons end and then begin again. So I wrote that, and then I came home and I played it for Harry. I said, what does this need? He says, nothing. It's perfect. Which was high praise from Harry. And my dad loved that song. He said, man, you've written a song about the end of sail and the beginning. He says, that's really good. So that was nice.